Hey, this is Brett the Hitman Hart, and I got a very special shout out for my longtime fan, Guersan. You are the best there is, the best there was, and the best ever will be.
Hello, champions. So the designing team actually did a Reddit AMA. AMA means Ask Me Anything for those wondering. And I thought we could go over the answers. Basically, I'm not gonna read every questions because there's like 200 of them, but I'm gonna read those that they actually answered plus their answer, and I might add some comments on top of that. So let's go have a look at it. So the people that were in, you had Jeff here, who is a character designer. You have John, no, John is here, and you have Ryan that is here. So let's have a look at it. First up, let's find where they have answers. All right, there it is. So Elix031 was asking, any more new superstar coming out that will have the NXT link? Aleister Black, Velveteen Dream, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, etc. would all be solid choices. Just curious if Scopely will choose to explore this. Thanks for doing the AMA, very informative. So John answered, yes, there are a ton of NXT superstars being created right now. Jeff answered, definitely expect to see more of the NXT roster in the game over the next few months. These would all have the NXT link with NXT version of Seth, Roman, and Dean. And I did see some character model preview of a few of them, and they look amazing. After that, EC Packer says, any idea for new match types, like a cage match, where you can only win by breaking gems that are on the edge of the screen or whatever, just throwing it out there. John answered, some ideas were discussed internally with regards to new match types, including cage matches, street fights, Ring of Fire match, Survivor Series style elimination matches, and Royal Rumble matches. No concrete plan for these right now, but the marks on our team, me included, would love to see these in our game one day. I agree. I would love to see new match types. That'd be pretty fun. Primetime Mega. I've noticed a lot of questions and comments aren't being addressed, so I'm guessing they go to another department. That's the reason. Are y'all going to relay our comments to them or just overlook them? So Ryan answered, I'm making a list of items to talk to other team members about, especially the live event team. That said, sorry if it seems there's a lot that isn't being addressed. There's only a few of us here, and it takes a little bit of time to respond to each comment. Some topics we can't talk about, example licensing. Others are not our department, but we're trying to get to as many as possible. Obviously, each of these three guys, they have a specific job. They can't really speak for other people that have other jobs. And obviously, there's some legal issues about some answer they would give. So that's why it's called an Ask Me Anything and not I'll answer whatever you ask. Okay, Mike CHR2K7. Who would recommend us being on the lookout for in future design-wise? We want to walk with Elias. Jeff answered, I think you'll have a chance to walk with Elias soon. We also have a set of NXT superstars on the docket as well. Super excited about those. They are going to be awesome. So indeed, if you remember back when I did my WrestleMania trip, I had a couple character preview then, and we had the character model for Elias. I haven't seen anything about him since April though, but he did look pretty great back then, so I guess he can only look the same or better now. And as far as the NXT superstars, I saw a few of them, and they look great. No idea about the move or class, but character models look great. Okay, main antagonist. I am only with the game for a few months, but it occurred to me, how do you win? Is the goal of the game to collect superstars? Since there's multiple versions of some of the same superstars, maybe you can have a career mode tour where each match is famous, one in their career, and each level earns you the next version of the superstar, culminating in actual winning a title. Jeff answered, this is a really cool ID. We've talked about similar things in the past. One design ID we really like is a new game mode that will allow you to take one of your characters through a tour, and if you're able to beat it, you unlock a brand new move or passive ability, etc. for that superstar. Nothing currently planned, but definitely something we'll talk about for future update IDs. That is indeed a suggestion that came quite a few times. I've submitted a couple IDs myself. Other players from the console also submitted similar IDs. Also things like skins that would make some character unique. Basically for the collectors and us. A lot of similar IDs were suggested, so I can't wait to see what they do with it. Stupid Idiot for Life. I love the name. Any plans to rework, improve some existing props? POP back support built in a day, and to introduce new props. Idiot crap, it's over. Alright, Jeff answered, it's not over. We've worked on some new props type in the past, and it's something we'd definitely like to work on in the future. As a first step, just some of the Create Power Gem or Create Power Gem props with stronger version of those modifiers that make more sense to the current game. Create Protect Gem, not Power, the second one. So yeah, indeed, they definitely need overall, like same as with the healing gems, things like that. All those props are give like 100, so they're only useful for moves that basically destroy some of those gem. But as far as a face value of the token itself, they definitely need an improvement. Banshee 316, are you going to change so same trainers to be used on multiple superstar? Very requested thing. Ryan answered, we've definitely talked about it, but right now I don't believe it's going to make it in the short term. As the need for trainer to expand with more and more superstar, we are definitely looking at ways to make managing them across your entire roster more efficient and fun. Some ideas reducing the gold cost, making loadouts. When we have some more details, we'll make sure to share them. I would love the loadout ID. That's the first I heard about that. I would definitely love a loadout. That would be great. Even better if it fits the moves with the trainer as well. That would be just godly. I would love that. Okay, Gunny Von 74. So maybe my first question was sounding more like a rant. So here's the question: when will the 00 glitch be corrected? The 000 glitch. Jeff answered, if you're still experiencing the issue, please reporting to our CS agents. We believe this issue was already resolved based on the lack of new reports coming in, so it would be very helpful if you send it if it's still occurring. Indeed, I haven't heard anything about the 00 glitch in at least 2-3 views. It's been a while since I heard it. I mean, not only have I never had the issue since myself, but I haven't heard anyone in my faction getting it, and I haven't got any message about people having it either. So definitely seems like something that was resolved. Obviously not for this guy if he's still having it though, so that might be something else. Alright, Chastain86. Guys, this one just came up, so hopefully you're still answering questions. How do ties work in relation to leaderboard standing on events? I think we were all under the impression that rankings are determined by the speed at which a score is achieved, meaning if two people scored 1,000 points and are in two-way tie for first, the person that scored 1,000 first is the de facto winner. But now I'm seeing that there's some doubt. Can you tell us how ranking works when scores are tied? That's been a very lengthy discussion in the console chat. Ryan answered, hey, Chastain86, thanks for the question. Leaderboard tiebreakers were supposed to be resolved by time. First person that would retain. In some recent testing, however, we've noticed the system may not be functioning correctly, and we've begun an investigation into it. In the past, our event scoring has been dynamic enough to make ties pretty difficult. As you know, that's not always true. We'll get to the bottom of this and ensure a consistent experience around in the future. And in the meantime, sorry for any confusion it's causing. That is indeed something they're looking at it. And we were talking about in the console like yesterday or the day before, I think, for the event for the what was it the one where you were buying the Black Friday coins. There was a couple people that were tied in, and some of them were in 2 and 3, and others were 4, 5, 6. So that was something that was being asked, and they're looking into it right now because nobody seems to know how it happens. Oh, well, they know how it's supposed to happen, but not how it actually ends up happening. All right, Derp 13, the bonus VIP cash and coins, 1100 and 3000. Are they given each month or a one-off bonus? I've asked in-game support 11 times yes, 11, and I either get automated response or irrelevant answer. Please tell me you guys are capable of reading and answering this question. Is simple attempt. The 1100 and 3000 are one-time rewards. Sign up only. You get a number of other currencies and reward on an ongoing basis as part of 2DX passes. Yeah, I did confirm that. Well, anyway, they're saying it, so you got your answer there. All right, next one. Don't kill deal. One more question. Have you considered adding an encyclopedia feature that provide incentive and reward for collecting all the superstars from a certain show stable era? I think that would be pretty cool to see. John answered, an achievement system that rewards superstar collection and game mastery is something we've discussed internally. No concrete plans for this feature at this point, but it's something us designers bring up periodically in discussion about future addition to the game. I've also talked about that also in the past. Definitely, I'm myself a big collector, so I love collecting characters. You probably saw that I like collecting them all. And it is something that they do have in their Walking Dead game. I played that game like a year or so before I started playing Champions back then. And they do have a system like that in Walking Dead. So that's something they probably have some data on. All right, Cotton Tech. Where are the Hell mode loot box going to get proper reward instead of a copy of hard mode loot? John will look into this. The intended design here is to have match win loot box reward scale based on talent of the assigned opponent. That is something that is indeed way overdue to get better loot boxes for the L mode instead of the same as the hard mode. There was even rumored of getting shards from those. That's something they got to get on. Fong Champion, is there any plan to implement retroactive sharding? That is, if I enhance a guy like Big Show past 3 stars, but I have a hollow star or 2, and have enough shards to fuse him up to 3 stars, that is currently not possible. Essentially, players get punished for spending tokens since they can't fill in the star using this method, while players that didn't level their guy reap the benefit. Basically, you can sum this question out. Can we find a way to fill empty stars with shards? That's a long way to say that. John answered, Hollow Star fill system is being worked on. We'll provide more concrete detail as the feature gets closer to release. That is indeed something they are working on. I got confirmation last week about that. G. Barnett, 1. Have you guys thought about adding more NXT stars to give more people the NXT tag link? Right now, I believe only Seth, Dean, and Roman NXT exist. I'm very excited for superstars like Ciampa, Gargano, Velveteen Dream, and the Undisputed Era to be added, even though they'll be megas and the chance to get them will be shit. 2. What's up with invasions? 3. Any overalls expected to reward systems such as feud, spending 24-48 hours for top 100, and the rewards are weak for those that reach 60 to 100. Actually, you can say 15 to 100. 4. Versus is the same fame reward every week. A little change would be nice. More than a little change, please. Since they've made it harder to finish with female being added. 5. The daily rewards, same thing every day, every week. And when it's Chad Gable leaving the rewards. Thanks for creating a game that helps pass the time. John answered, number 1. There's a ton of NXT superstars, both male and female, being worked on. We touched on that earlier. Number 2, the dev team is making improvement to the invasion system as we speak. We are committed to fixing invasion and making it a fun game mode that you guys will look forward to playing. Should be coming in a not so distant future, from what I was told. 3, 4, 5, these are out of our demand, unfortunately. I will share this feedback with the live event team. WH Glass 02, simple ask. How about more option beside one level or max when it comes to leveling a superstar up via coins? Thank God for that. I'd love that. Most of the time, I want to do more than one level, but not use all my coins. A slider or level select option would be very beneficial indeed, like a 10 level or 20 level, something like that. I'd love that. Ryan, just to piggyback on this, there's a design that is about a year and a half old that accommodate a more dynamic level up flow. It will likely not be a slider, but it will be flexible. But Dan is right. We really want to evaluate how reducing the red ring and speeding up the overall system will feel before we go down that route. Another option we had pitched a long time ago to engineering was allowing a player to tap the button a few times quickly in a row and then adding up the level up and doing them all at once. Again, we will reevaluate that in the future once we've addressed our underlying red ring problem. Dan also answered, I go through this a lot too, particularly when trying to optimize my coin usage in Town Up event. Even a +5 button would be nice, but that part of the UI is already super dense. That said, right now we're working on reducing the latency and unnecessary server calls that make individual level ups, among many, many other things, take way too long. Once we can see how much of an impact that has, level up should not mean show me a red ring. We can evaluate replacing the +1 max button with a slider if we still feel like that part of the experience is subpar. They do have a, I don't exactly know, I don't know at all how their system works, but they do seem to have a lot of different interconnecting system that seem to cause lag between each other, and they're also building on pretty older version of some of those systems that would need to get a pretty big overhaul for some of these features to go through, which is probably why it's taking a lot of time to put in things that might seem simple when we just think of them, but not so much when you want to implement them. Fibulous, are there any more future redesign just like the Rock and Taker recently? John answered, they are redesign planned at this time for characters that have been released. All right. Don't know which one they are. Oh, I just see the one here from Raven. Is Riley male or female? They didn't answer that, but I can tell you. Riley is a female. Eddie0125. Just a few thoughts on a minor game change. One, I like how the DX VIP notify you when the case are available. Can that be done for the VIP clear ticket as well? Also, can't you leave the monthly DX VIP at the initial release price instead of jacking it up? Two, like everyone else, any change to the healing system, as in character being partially healed when the timer expires and the faction doesn't fully heal? I think everyone is tired of wasting heal tokens. 3, don't use slightly think $100 to pull for a character you haven't guaranteed is crazy. Any chance of lower prices? Other game like Marvel Strike Force charge $15-$30 for enough shards to get a guaranteed character. Do you realize that cheaper price would probably mean more purchases? Ryan answered, auto clear ticket were supposed to be a part of that notification system. I noticed in reviews too late that they weren't. We flagged it and hopefully we'll sneak it in soon. I would definitely love that too. That's basically the only reason that I still buy the Shane's contract. It's because that's my notification to go get my auto clear ticket because they're both on the same timer. 2, we've discussed this a ton over the last year. You've probably heard or seen John and I talk about our design for a med center floor on the faction HQ. There's a lot of differing opinion internally on heal tokens right now, but it's on the mind of everyone and something I really hope we can get to soon. Indeed, something that would at least give you like a portion of the heals. Obviously, you need to reduce how many you need for 4 stars to begin with, but that is something they're indeed working on. And 3, sorry, most things related to loot are outside me and my designer domain. Hopefully those answers were helpful, and thanks for asking questions. If I didn't answer something fully beyond number 3, unfortunately, hit me up and I'll try to clarify or go deeper. Practice it. What non-main roster character do you have the rights to use? Hall of Famers, NXT guys, UK guys? Thought about a contest for someone to pick a character to get into the game? John answered, can confirm that we have upcoming superstar from all 3 of the categories you listed. Pretty cool idea about the contest. We'll talk to the community and live event team about it. Right. ZMB Mama. Okay, thanks. Jeff answered, you're welcome. That was an easy one. Walshcav, are there any plans to have some sort of system in place where I can get rid of a good chunk of my inventory that are from event a year plus ago? Yes, that's being asked a lot. John answered, we're actively working on a design for inventory cleanup system. That would be a beautiful indeed. Kickman77. Hi guys, thanks for doing this AMA. I have a question or two. What made you guys switch to shards as loot? It makes it much harder for a casual player to get new superstars and level them. Also, why do the events seem so one-sided for people who pay more? I want to invest in the game, but seeing as I cannot afford 100 or so a month for a mobile game, I do not bother, as the perception is it take that much to even be able to do some event. Any plans on changing this? Actually, the current event right now is pretty easier than the previous one. They dropped the milestones a lot. Ryan answered, hey Kickman77, unfortunately these are questions that I can't fully answer, but I can touch broadly on shards. The goal with shard is to provide more avenues to eventually recruit all types of superstars. Instead of receiving the same set of superstars over and over, shards should open up to allow players to earn portions of a lot more superstars, eventually earning a larger variety. That said, we are still working on overall shard balance, as well as hopefully incorporating more paths to acquire them. I don't think the current execution is nearly as satisfying as it should be, and we've been listening to your feedback via the in-game survey, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, etc., and we'll try to improve it in the future. There's a lot of discussion internally about shards indeed. We've had a lot of them about them on how to make it better or more appealing and easier, basically, and it is something that they're looking into. Count Angels 666. 1. When will the health system be fixed? It takes too many health packs to heal 4 stars, and it takes too many heals to give our faction member when we get our 8 to give in a day. 2. Will you ever make it easier to get diamonds? 3. Why are there useless tokens in the diamond pools for 4-star? When is invasion being brought back? That'd be a number 4. Jeff answered, I can respond only on the invasion point, but we're implementing some changes to invasion that we hope will address many of the players' concerns that have been raised here and elsewhere. I don't have the exact date for you on when the next invasion will be, but just as very roughly estimate, I'd say toward the beginning of 2019. That is indeed what they told me as well. Alright, GVS 37. Damn, there's a lot more than I thought. GVS 37, where's the Shockmaster? Is this too much of a dream? Where are Typhoon and Earthquake? Jeff answered, speaking purely as a fan, I'd love to add Shockmaster to the game. That said, I think the natural disaster are a much more likely addition at this point. I believe the natural disaster were digged up by data miners as being in the code or something, but I haven't seen anything concrete about them. So, all right. Monktonian, this may not be your department, but what is Scopely reaction to the concerns and complaints from players when dealing with partners such as Tapjoy and how the case are handled by them? Partnerships are great, but when one side doesn't fulfill its part of the agreement with the player, the frustration is not just toward the partner. Ryan says, sorry, can comment about anything specifically regarding Tapjoy or related partnership, but I'll ensure Dan sees this concern. As far as I know, everything about the Tapjoy offers is basically Tapjoy's to deal with. I don't know if they have some specifics on that, but I was reading about Tapjoy on Google, and they have offers in a lot of the games, and they have a lot of problems in all of the games. So I'm guessing it's a Tapjoy concern. Hunter Clan 09. If you are going with the low amount of shards you pull, why not put all available superstar shards into all available pulls, including the free bag every 6 hours and the premium superstar bag? And then for megas, don't allow 5 shards. Make the megas have higher shards. Even if you offer ever shards available, it still would take us forever to get some of the greats. Ryan answered, broadly, personally, I agree with some of this approach, especially about including most or all superstars at low amounts. I'd go a step further and love to see more small, grindable ways to earn shards. One caveat, the free bag needs to be targeted since it is an incredibly valuable source for new players to flesh out their fledgling rosters, and in their shards are spread out so much they won't get the superstar they need. That said, this is not under the design team decision, but I will share this with the live event team. Wonderland 10 added, this was promised to be included in the first patch that put shards into the game via Hell mode loot boxes. Are you implying this never coming? When? What gives? Ryan answered, sorry, I was not implying anything regarding Hell mode loot boxes. What I said was I'd like to see more avenues for grind. My expectation is that Hell mode loot box is still slated, but we are working out some unforeseen issue in implementing them. I just reached out to our engineering team to confirm where are those issues. I'll see how I can help accelerate getting this into the game. Cool Guy 2003. Any chance to versus rewards? Any changes to versus rewards? Seems quite outdated. Dan answered, yes, although it's slated for one of our more distant release. A revamp or PvP including rewards is currently being designed. Once we have more on the design nailed down, we can provide more information. That is indeed way time to be changed. Adev 218, are you planning on bringing invasion mode back? John answered, yes, we're working on updating the feature to address some of the pain point that you guys were most vocal about. We will not abandon this feature, and you guys will be able to play improved version in the near future. So as they said earlier, early 2019. Planned so far, at least. Crashbog, any new move mechanics you guys are working on? Any trainers for healing bonus for Shane and Sammy? Or increase in submission gems to look forward? Will there be any change to daily logging cap? Currently bottom tier wrestlers? Any update on inventory management? So John answered, the daily login system will be revamped in an upcoming release. We are also actively working on the design for an inventory cleanup system. Jeff answered, I can answer the first two. The first one I answered in response to another comment, but we're working on a lot of new move trainer, coach, perk, mechanic. We would like to keep some surprise for some of these, but a couple that I can share are a reversal mechanic and an MP Fontaine gem modifier, which are still in the design stage. I think a trainer skill for a heal bonus for guys like Shane and Sammy is a great idea, as is an increase in submission gems. I'd say the increased submission gem trainer is something you're most likely to see in the near future. Yeah, I like the idea of the MP Fountain and the reversal. They talked about it in the console about like a week ago. That sounded pretty cool, but obviously it's still very, very early stage of talks. ZMB Mama, why have the invasions been stopped? When will the trainer, specifically Jimmy Uso, be fixed? John answered this below as well. With regard to invasion, we're working on updating this feature to address some of the pain points that you guys were most vocal about. We will not abandon the feature, and you guys will be able to play improved version of it in the near future. Don't Kill Dill. For Jeff, are you guys experimenting with new move mechanic? If so, what? Jeff answered, yes, we're constantly looking at new mechanic to implement in game, whether it's for move trainer, coach, skill, perk, or other boosts. Okay, that's basically the same answer as earlier. Any plans for Elite Gem? I can see them in L mode, but do you think they'll ever end up on a Superstars moveset? I think there's a very strong chance you'll see them on a new Superstars moveset. Alright, that would be nice indeed. Nathan Jacobs to WWE. Will there ever be a trade-in event? For example, we could trade in our inventory, and or we can trade in X amount of items for a guaranteed item. So we could trade in an item earned during a monthly event for a token case, 5 items earned during a monthly event for 50 HPs, 10 items earned during an event for 1 SB Superstar. Ryan answered, short answer is we're exploring this right now. We hope to have a trade-in system in the game sometime in the next year, but it's still a bit to be dated on the design details at the moment. Okay, Black Soxing. Hello, are there any plans to create a master mute option? I don't want this to look rude, but it's the first game I've ever played with no true ability to mute sound. Even if the slider is on the right position, sound effects still seep through on iOS and Android. There has been report of employees with infections. Specifically, Eric was accused months ago. Can you provide some transparency in regards to this? Specifically, are employees sending real money for upgrades, event, and pulls? Is there a rotation of factions? Any thoughts or feeling in regard to this? Any plans to repackage trainers or characters? Enzo is a prime example, as they are characters who have great training ability but are no longer offered. Bonus, what activities are used to relieve stress, either within the company or outside, as I'm sure these more front-facing devs and community reps get the brunt of this compared to the background players. Ryan answered, that freaking mute. It's a hugely annoying tech issue, and it's been investigated, but we haven't 100% tracked it down. It's unfortunately kind of a lower priority compared to Red Ring and other tech issues at the moment. I do not know why certain areas of the game go through mute, but we are working to resolve it. Let me see if I can bump it up in priority after I get off here today. Right, and Jeff, I'll let Ryan respond on the mute issue if something we're aware of, but I don't have a specific date for you. I can speak to the individual account you mentioned, but we all play the game. I think it's basically be negligent not to. That said, we have strict rules in place around playing in competitive elements of the game and competing in live event. If any of us participate in those, we are playing legitimately. The trainer character repackaging issue you mentioned is one we're still working on how to address. We'd love to introduce a second MP trainer of a certain color, for example, but would need to make sure we do it in a way that's not totally OP. For your last question, most of us play games. I'm a big fan of Rocket League and Stardew Valley. There are a lot of employees who play Magic. Some are big into Destiny 2 or League of Legends. The WWE team also tries to get together for all the major pay-per-views to watch them together. Okay. Dr. Wargul, number 1. How is the licensing different for mobile games such that you appear to be unable to offer ADR, Enzo, Barrett, Dudley's, Christian, etc., while console-based games seem not to be affected by this issue? In particular, you remove Christian mid-event, but he's being offered as a playable character in 2K19 right now. 2. How do you plan to address the iniquity that retiring these characters, because given trainer abilities are almost always unique to specific characters? I understand that many people could return at any time, but would seem ADR and Enzo have thoroughly burned their bridges. Dan answered, normally licensing related questions fall into the we cannot comment on these for reason outside of our control bucket, and I can't comment on specific licensing agreements we have, and certainly not on any agreement another game that we don't publish might have. I'm not a lawyer and have only limited knowledge on these things. However, what I can say in response to your first question is, traditionally console games are put on a box on a shelf in a store, and particularly once you've bought it, a publisher can't go in there and take something out when a license expires, the same way a vendor can't go into your home and take away your t-shirt. With a mobile game that is updated on a daily basis, the rules are a bit different. It is indeed a very different ball game for updated mobile games than it is for console games. Dr. Wargul actually added that actually is all I was asking there. So there are rules specific to what you do that are different than other media. Similar to how you listen to the web stream of a radio station, you will hear different commercial than over-the-air broadcast, or even how some of the entrance music may be different on WWE Network than if you'd watch a pay-per-view live in '92. Dan answered, in a word, yes, there are rules specific to what we do that are not applicable to other forms of media. Big Dead 8989, last question for me, and one a lot of people probably forgot. Why were we promised in the blog on the update with shards that on the launch of shard there would be a way to earn superstar shards via L mode loot boxes? This has not been mentioned since that was months ago. Is this feature coming soon or just never to be spoken of again? Ryan added, answered this elsewhere, but it would still be happening. I'm digging into with our engineering team today. Last I heard, we had some issues in implementing them that we needed to sort out. Hopefully we can resolve that soon. Another from Big Dad 8099. Gear chips needs to be addressed. They are given away as reward in events and VIP DX Vault, but you can barely spend them on any gear. Any real beneficial gear is locked behind a direct paywall, or in case of Andre, costs 100,000 in-game cash, which is equivalent of around 1,000 USD. Andre's Great has been this price for at least half a year. I'm pretty sure that's a bug. That value is obviously bogus. Jeff answered, I agree with you on the lack of new gear to spend your gear chips on. When we first launched the feature, we had a number of new pieces of gear that accepted gear chips. However, what we found is that gear is something that requires a fairly significant amount of time to create, so we've tried to make most of these new releases into powerful, rare gear. All that said, and I think this probably answers another similar question elsewhere in the thread, we're looking into ways to make easier to make but more broadly accessible gear, like a color swap of existing outfits. These pieces of gear would still provide some interesting boost to existing superstars and would be something that I'd expect would accept gear chips. I'm pretty surprised they haven't jumped on the gear that much, because other games are making a fortune with gears and skins and things like that, so that would be a pretty good cash cow for them if they use that. Jad the Jesus Freak. There's many more that I know won't be addressed based on the limitation of this AMA, so I'll end with this. 7. What features are currently in development that we can expect to see in the future aside from new characters? Ryan answered, sure, let me take a stab at this. Definitely coming soon. 1. Tutorial redesign, which I hope has a skip button on it. Number 2, daily login revamp. Number 3, events update. 4, home screen redesign. 5, invasion improvement. Hopefully coming soonish. 1, star fills. 2, versus improvement. After that, we have a number of big things planned, but are a bit more tentative. We'll make some posts about them as we get them more nailed down, but hopefully this will give you a bit of an idea of what's coming up. All right. Sax 316. I'm sure there will be plenty of questions of greater importance, and this may be minor in the grand scheme of things, but can we do away with, or at least give selective on-off options for the in-game notifications? I often notice that after a match in the daily, for example, I'm watching the red ring go for several seconds until the new item added to inventory notification pops up. Then I'm finally free to start the next match. Now that is only minor inconvenience, but I can't help but wonder, with all the feud notification along with event score update non-stop during feuds, if those don't cause or at least contribute to the red ring hang-up that often occur. Thanks for your time. That would be a pretty solid guess. Ryan answered, hey Sax, thanks for the question. I think you're referencing to what we call toasts, the notification that came from the top of the screen, correct? If so, a management system is definitely something I'd like to explore. Unfortunately, it's something to be pretty low on the list of things we're going to build on right now. That said, there may be some small improvement we can make to make them work better for you. From a tech perspective, toasts are not a major contributor to a red ring problem, and we're dedicating an entire release to hopefully resolving that issue once and for all. Is your issue with toasts that you feel they are causing lag delay in the game, or do you find them not useful, or something else? Would love to dig into this more so I can figure out how to make improvement to the system. Again, a management system would be great, and I'll keep it on our backlog and see where it may fit. Sack replied, thanks for the reply, and yes, that sounds like exactly what I'm talking about. I do feel it caused delay because I do watch the red ring roll for a bit before the toast come. Then once it finally comes, the red ring is gone and I'm able to navigate again. Obviously, I don't know if that's a major contributing factor when feuds have problems, just an educated guess based on what I and others see. And no, I personally do not find them useful, especially not at the frequency as which they appear, which can be downright overwhelming at times when there's multiple events going on. Some may find them nice to have though, so perhaps an option of selecting which one you like versus those you don't. For example, I don't need to know new items have been added to the inventory, but some may like the event toast popping up track where they are not without having to navigate on a new screen. So perhaps could be turned off, on or on is an option screen. Yeah, or like I don't need to know that some of my teammates have joined the feud queue. Ryan replied, cool, thanks for the feedback. From what I know, Had a lot of conversations about red ring, but I'm not an engineer. The toasts are not the problem, but it's how some of our server calls are handled. We're doing a huge refactor on this soon, and it has the potential to basically remove red rings from nearly all interactions. This is currently slated for an early next year. Hopefully we can share more details as engineering get into it more, but they're pretty confident they can do it. That said, there's some improvement I have planned for toast that may alleviate some of your issues. The big one is collecting multiple toasts related to the same thing and triggering them at the same time, and only once. For example, if you spend a bunch of TPs in a row, instead of the toast triggering each time you use the TP, it would wait until you've stopped using TP for a bit and then trigger one consolidated toast. Also, the new item toast can be dismissed by tapping it. Not a true resolution to your issue, but may help remove it from the screen faster. I'll keep in mind the management system though, and thanks again for questions and feedback. All right, RJBSR20 deaths. Question for Jeff. This is about perks, more specifically the reflect damage and damage capped at 5k. First part is about the perk and using them in a faction feud. There was a lot of backlash last feud with perk, and I think it would be a lot better if those perks were only used on offense and not your opponent having them. I understand the challenge. What are your thoughts on that, and how will it affect gameplay? Second part is about damage reflect and damage cap perk on the road tours and L modes. I know it's called L mode for a reason, but will there be permanent perks like those we will be able to use against those opponents in L mode, or any kind of permanent perks that will allow us to counter those perks in any way? Thank you for any response. Jeff answered. Great question about perk. We have been following community feedback from the perks feud very closely, and I've also been looking in depth at a lot of data from those feuds to see the impact they've had on gameplay. Based largely on feedback, I do think that the reflect perk in particular is something that we will shelve for now until we have a design we're more comfortable with. As design instead of creating new strategies for players, many of you reported that it felt more like you were just being taxed on your health with no ways to avoid it. That's not what we want. I think having these perks apply only on offense would certainly help players to win faster and more often, but wouldn't really do much to make gameplay more interesting and challenging. Obviously, feud is about winning and winning fast, but we also want to shake things up a bit from time to time so that it doesn't get too stale and repetitive. We do have some plans for permanent perks across different game modes that you're likely to see over the next few months, so stay tuned. Okay, Gbesco. About characters like Enzo ADR, do you guys consider the idea to reskin them or release new character with the same trainer ability? Any plans of revamping daily login, perhaps make it monthly system with a featured character shard similar game to the same system? About LPAC economy and the cost to heal a 4-star, is there any plan to change or increase the health value beside the VIP boost? Can we see a shard store where a player can directly buy their item? Is there any plan for more variety of faction events other than the recurrent collect insignias? A few months ago we voted for a Finn Balor demon redesign. Are we still getting it? Will Shane's deal final bag ever change and offer new rewards? And how is the process of choosing feud reward? Not a feature per se, but it's something I'm curious to know. Ryan answered a lot of them. 1. So Jeff is actively looking at this topic and we're discussing it internally. Unfortunately, I can't speak too much about it. Licensing stuff is out of my domain. We do want to ensure that the meta stays competitive and players have the ability to acquire the moveset and trainer ability they need. So expect some more details about this in the future. 2. Actually, yes, the existing daily login system will be scrapped in an upcoming release and replaced with a calendar system. The hope with this system will be to provide more dynamic rewards instead of static rotating set of things. Look for it early in the new year. As always, release dates sometimes shift, so sorry if it ends up a bit later than that. 3. Huge and important topic. Short answer, yes, we are looking to address these issues in some way. How? That's a bit to be dated still. Let me gather some more details with the other designers and try to make a post about it in the coming weeks to get the community's feedback. Sorry for the lack of concrete details at this time. 4. Interesting ID. Unlikely in short term, but I'll keep it in mind as we build a new system. Broadly, what we like to see are ways to grind for superstar shards in a meaningful way. Right now, getting 5 shards can kind of suck because how are you going to get the other 795? I want to fix that. 5, yes, I think so. Unfortunately, that's up to the live event team, but I'll check with them this week and see what they're thinking. 6, just ask Jeff, and he said Finn didn't win. Unfortunately, I don't believe he's scheduled for a redesign, but if it's something players really want, I'd love to come back to it in the future. 7, sadly, again, another live event team question. I laugh because it's literally been a topic I have had for over a year and something I think we should do, and I'm not sure where it is on their roadmap. 8, sadly, another live event team one. They do a lot of analysis when they are figuring out event reward, but I think I should save this question for one of them. I'll start poking them this week to see if we can get them on here for an AMA in the future. I know a bunch of questions people have are directed toward them. As always, if I haven't answered something fully, hit me up and I'll try to do better. Thanks for the questions. Okay, SR Kincaid. Do you plan on tweaking, expanding various steel change gem type moves to give more sideboard feel to gameplay? As it stands now, there's really no reason to deviate from a stock build regardless of matchup. On a related note, steel blast gem move need to be reworked. There are never any left to steal. Jeff answered, these are great points, and I do think that we've created at least some use for the steel move in the 4-star meta. In practice, I know that they're not widely used, but as match length has increased in the 4-star world, you could at least theoretically steal someone's gem. Steel Blast Gem is a good example, though, of one that's really hard to find a good use for. As you mentioned, most characters who use them create and destroy them in the same turn. We've tried to move away from choose blast move, however, in favor of more randomized placement. When they're randomized, Steel Blast could work. Okay, Couleur CPA. Some interface question for Ryan. 1. Can you please consider adding the option to tap skip speed move up animation? As because some moves are annoyingly over animated, like Triple HKOK Sledgehammer for example, true. And it gets frustrating when the CPU has 3 moves loaded, perform all of them along with any related cascade matchup, extra move tags the partner in, and they do also perform 3 move along with related cascade match 5, causing players to sit there for a minute or more without the ability to interact with the game. 2. A while back, the ability to open multiple bags at once was added, which was really convenient. However, there are still so many unnecessary clicks required for different actions. Can this be evaluated to cut down on wasted time bloat? For example, when getting daily DX coin, instead of clicking a button to get the 70 and the 150, you have to click the button to get a bag, click to open the bag, click again to skip the bag opening animation, and click it again after receiving coin to close the bag. I get why bags may need it when there's a pool of possible items, but it seems pointless when a reward is guaranteed, like the daily reward getting 25 cash and Chad Gable shards. Speaking of daily coins, is it possible to consider automatically adding the X-Coin auto-clear tickets to inventory rather than requiring players to get them manually? The X-Coins are better about giving reminders, but I've forgotten to get my auto-clear tickets so many times. If nothing else, perhaps a reminder to get auto-clear tickets similar to the DX coin reminder. 4. One last question. Are there plans to do anything about the large number of currency items in the inventory menu from previous event? It seems like inventory is getting so bloated that the game red rings for a few seconds anytime an item is earned, and it's getting worse with each additional event. The ability to delete or spend these currencies would be great. Oh my god, that's a long answer. Ryan answered, yes, some UX questions. Ryan is the UX guy, by the way. So 1, definitely something we've considered. Early on in development, we made a mistake when speccing animation in the game and didn't ensure they were skippable. Since then, we have designed guidelines that essentially say if there's an animation, it should be skippable, and we've segmented nearly all animation into multiple sections so you can tap through. but still get the information you want. We have not been perfect on this, for example, shards and loot or vaults, but we've been much better. See Faction HQ, shards and grab bag, post-match, etc. Okay, finally to your question, there is two parts to skipping animation in a battle scene. One technical and one UX. The first part I can't speak too much about, but in general the battle scene is a bit tough to work in. Not an excuse, but it's unfortunately not as easy as other systems. Second part is the UX. It's a bit more complicated. In testing, we found that move usage is one of the most satisfying aspects of the game, especially for new players. Unlike experienced players who often focus more on the outcome of the move, new players are focusing on the aesthetic and quality of the animation. The animation also helped reinforce the value of the move and help tie the meta system together for new players. Because of that, I've been hesitant to build a system that may accidentally hide this value to new players, especially since many new players simply mash the screen as they learn the turn concept. That said, there's a number of ways to build the system that with elder players to streamline their play and still preserve the above. For example, having the hit area only on the ring area to skip would likely prevent new players who are mashing on the gem from skipping accidentally. Let me dig into the tech side of this and see if it's easy to implement. If so, I'll do some research and we'll see what we can do. 2. Great point regarding bags. Unfortunately, the reason we use bag for a single object has more to do with flexibility than UX, and it's a concession I often make to ensure the system will adhere to our live team's need. Another reason is that it can often save a lot of development time to not make unique delivery system depending on the object. If we can always say this will be a grab bag, we don't have to create unique animation for claiming a single object. That said, I do think it's a good feedback, and something I'm working with our live team is to get their needs figured out much earlier in the development process so we can create a more meaningful and good experience for our players. Finally, there's some minor improvement we can make to the existing system that will make them function a bit better, such as streamlining and potentially speeding up the animation. 3. I'm pretty sad that auto-clear badging didn't make it to the last release. I caught it too late in build review and the team couldn't get it in time. That said, having players claim reward is very intentional, from re-engagement to understanding what you earned, so I don't see that changing, but adding more better notification is definitely a must. Kind of piggybacking on the last question too, I think plussing up on the notification system to allow you to tap the number reward available banner and go directly to the pop-up for membership reward would help reduce some of that interaction fatigue you mentioned above as well. I also considered an open all flow for all membership reward at once, but it brings a bunch of tech and UX edge case concerns. That's basically the only reason I still have the Shane offer, because I want my reminder for my auto-clear tickets because they're both on the same timer. 4. Yes, there is. Months ago, I tried to get the Band-Aid in where we'd create an event item category in inventory and put all of the expired items in there. This was definitely a stopgap measure, and sadly, we didn't get it prioritized. Good news, though, is we're finally going to get a conversion system in. Details are a bit to be dated still, but it's coming. Ballpark for release will be sometime in the new year, hopefully first half. Thanks for these great questions. If I haven't answered them all enough, you have follow-up, hit me up. We're getting there. Hello Designer Trio, that's from Pato92, which is the guy that designed my card, by the way. I have a few questions about the game itself that I would like to see expand in the future. 1. Have you guys considered revamping the shard system to be beneficial to the player, making it tier-based instead of character having different shard enhancement evolves? Have you considered possibly adding more free gear just to give character a different look, just as simple as changing the color of the attire? Do you consider extending the reward beyond top 10-15, as many work hard to try and obtain a rank in their faction, especially in the 24 or 48 hour person plays? Ryan answered, hello, let's see what I can answer. 1, there's a couple things here I'll try to cover, and maybe you could provide some more insight into how you'd like to see shards used as well. First, not to be too much of an apologist regarding the system, but the initial launch of shards was pretty beneficial to most players, primarily centered around fuse ups, and newer players still gain that benefit. Post launch, though, I feel it's been lackluster, primarily around how shards are used to improve superstars and how they're earned in loot and other modes. I can't speak to the loot aspect, but I think a reevaluation of shard regarding superstar progression would be valuable. If we're to start over today, I'd probably advocate for a shard-based system level up system using shards as the primary driver of superstar progression. They maintain value throughout the game and allow players a meaningful way to grind toward progression of a specific superstar. Changing a foundational system at this point in the game life is likely not going to happen, but finding out how to add more value to shards is important and is on our radar. That said, would you mind sharing with us what you mean by tier-based? 2. Yes, although I can't promise they'll all be free. Our initial plan with gear was to have variant of all superstars outfit and color swap inversions, etc. were high on the list. Unfortunately, it's gotten derailed a few times. I'll continue to allow this with the art and live team, as well as pushing for gears broadly as a system. I think it's massively underused in the game, and I'd love to have more customization options myself. 3. I'll share this feedback with the live team. Unfortunately, I don't have insight into the current plans around feud reward, but they're consistently looking to improve, something the design team has pushed for, expanding the league system to include feud, so more players who work hard in faction-related activities can earn reward as well. In general, I think the league system has a ton of potential, and I'd love to see it used consistently. Related to that would be new and expanded rewards in Expedition, including rush tokens and events centered around completing them with your factions. Okay, Pato added, you tried your best to answer what I've asked from you. To refer back to the first question by tier base, the example I've used before in the past is that let's say you have 20 Macho Man shards already. It gives you the chance to recruit him at low level. You would still follow the same mechanism, 80, 200, 400, 800 for shards, but you should be able to have different tiers, especially with the new shard loot. The system could help improve this tier based as suggested. Like myself, I upgraded Big Show and Triple H to 3-star bronze before I joined the faction. The 1000 shard that I have for them, I cannot give them that full star or upgrade them even higher. A lot of characters that have great trainers abilities are not usable in game unless they were given a revamp, but we do not want to have to waste our tokens to bring them up. And on a plus side, it would help new player who comes to the game. I would give them someone to feud with, as some can't afford or do not want to spend the money. They can obtain higher levels with shard. And my eyes are burning from all this reading. Overall, shards can be a great system. I just think it needs to be tweaked because realistically speaking, not a lot of can obtain 800 shards just for one guy as it's spread across 150 plus characters. I also forgot to add it would be interesting to add gears for each Evo enhancement like what they do for Call of Duty. It would give players much more of a reason to upgrade certain player because sometimes it's just too cool to give your guy a different look than others. I also like to add it would be cool to add managers as a coach or trainer ability, as they would not be playable characters, but perhaps they can take over the perks area and be renamed manager. Ryan answered. Cool, thanks for clarification. I'll respond to you and Wargle here. That type of system is what I was assuming you were referring to, and it relates to my comment above. Unfortunately, the economic impact of that type of change is huge, and I can completely negate the need for tokens and is in essence an alternate Evo enhanced method entirely. I do broadly like the idea, like I said before, but the system was not balanced around that. And this late into the game's life cycle, it changes so much on a foundational system or product team would likely run from the room in terror. For some historical explanation, the shard fuse-up system was actually built to negate the potential frustration of someone collecting, say, 795 shards of a superstar, but then getting a lower rarity poster of them. Without the fuse-up system, it could have completely negated the collection of those shards. It was not intended as a primary fuse-up method, but as a secondary and additive system. That said, shards are predicated on being attainable, and what I've read loud and clear for the last few months, and again in here today, is that they simply do not feel that way. It's a huge priority for the design team to remedy this, and we'll continue to relay our feedback as well as yours to our live team so we can help steer the direction of shards. CD United. Hey guys, do you plan on or think about releasing a draft game mode? Sort of like a hybrid blitz, but you draft maximize superstar on different star level. You get to assign your drafted superstar as trainer coach too, which should bring an element of strategy to the draft pick. You get to use those superstars until you win-lose this game mode. I think that this mode can shake things up and let people use superstars that they don't have in their roster. I know that this is a popular feature for a lot of sport and even card game. Might be a fantastic idea for champions. What do you think? That does sound interesting. John answered, I love the idea of a draft mode of some kind. Us designers have talked about this in the past, both as possibly a new single or double elimination format tournament game mode where you and your assigned opponent select characters from a shared character pool before battling each other with them. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Big Dead 8989. Can someone explain the reasoning behind fixing the bug with the choose destroy trainer and now creating a worse bug that makes the trainer that are supposed to do that job not work? Took a year to get the first bug fixed. How long till we fix those trainers for the choose destroy guy? My 4-star Samoa Joe is useless now. Jeff answered, the introduction of the new Destroy Gem trainer issue in which certain new trainers are no longer working on character was a big misstep for us, especially around the same time as fixing the old Destroy Gem trainer issue. The timing couldn't have been worse, so let me personally apologize for the frustration this has caused. That said, the dev team is working hard on a fix as we speak. Our estimated fix for this bug is at sometime next month in December. I've mentioned in another thread before, but some fixes are relatively easy, like something that can be changed simply in data and deployed almost instantly to live, while other fixes require code work that have to wait until a new update for the game to be released. This bug is, unfortunately, the later kind. And finally, was going to ask the same, just an estimated time frame would suffice for me. Answered as well, but this should be fixed in our December release. And oh no, we're not done. I kill only what I love. Why do your company insist on putting free to get characters into a pool of characters your player base pay actual money for? Do you consider that the cost of pools is actually crazy? Will Blitz ever be worth doing again? When are Rush tokens? Are they coming back? Are there any plans to make the 2-star chip pool a 3-star chip pool instead, considering the complexity involved to get the necessary 10k chips? Ryan answered, hey, let me see what I can answer here, but unfortunately almost all your questions are for the live event team and not for our design team, and some don't actually seem to be questions. We're going to try to set up an AMA with some folks from that team in future, since we know it's important to you guys and you have a bunch of questions. Broadly, the design team has talked with the live event team about free superstars and blitz rewards in the past. I can't commit them to anything right now, but we will continue to have those discussions with them and push for them to evaluate the system and make improvement where they can. Rush tokens are an interesting one and something I hope comes back soon. When we launched Expedition, we were not 100% sure of how players were going to interact with it, and Rush tokens had the potential to destabilize it. Now that it's been many months, it's something that needs to be looked at again, and John and I have talked about with the live team about it just last week. Again, since this is a live event question, I can't commit to anything, but it's actively being talked about. Sorry I can't answer these more fully, and I know these are a bit of non-answers. That said, like I said at the beginning, we'll work to get them here to answer these questions for you in the future. Question for Jeff. You set yourself up for this question, but I gotta ask, do you have concept or anything in your mind for a certain group of elite stars that may or may not be joining the WWE in the next year, in the new year? What are some of the characters that were on the docket to enter the game but were put on back burner for the time being? Question for John and Ryan. Would you be able to clear up some rumors and innuendo about certain unattainable characters, more specifically ADR and Enzo? Why have they been unavailable to recruit in the game for a long while? Is it licensing issue like many have heard? Is it a public relation problem? More importantly, what are the future plans for characters whose trainer coach ability are so vital to certain builds but are no longer going to be available for the same reason? Why was Trickster Andre in the original beta and then we haven't seen him until now? Thanks, Moby. John answered, delete. Unfortunately, we can't talk about specific with regard to licensor and superstar approval. I can say that we are actively discussing solutions to address the reintroduction of key entourage ability currently assigned to superstar that we are unable to grant to player for one reason or another. Jeff answered, and thanks for the question, Moby. We have a lot of new superstar in development at any given time. We're working on a lot of NXT guys at the moment, and I'm super excited about the design for those guys. Can't give away too much there right now, though. And if you're hinting at who I think you're hinting at, no comments. No comments indeed. We've had a lot of superstars we've created and designed, but I've had to put on the back burner for a number of reasons. Sometimes we'll create a new superstar who we think will be called up to the main roster soon, but we will hold off on releasing them into the game until that actually happens. Other times we want to make sure we have an event that makes sense for releasing a character like Rikishi, who we figured would be cool to release at the same time as the Usos around the Thanksgiving family event. And the last one, question for Jeff. When brainstorming concept for characters, what are some of the ideas you had that you thought were great at first, then after a while got shut down and never saw the light of day? If you were playing Faction Feud, what are some of the character setup you would grinch to go up against? Is there a character or characters that are so overpowered you wish you could nerf, but no, there would be a massive pushback from Champions community? Cough, cough, Trickster Rollins. Cough, cough, thanks, Moby. Jeff answered, I remember a super troll character we were discussing that had a 1 and 2 MP move that all did very minimal damage but kept the opponent from doing too much. That one never got too far off the ground, thankfully. I never liked seeing Eddie and Razor, who were two of my first design after I took over character redesign. Those are indeed two guys I hate to face myself. It would be interesting to be able to do an ongoing series of balance change to character to create some more interesting matchup, but I think it can also be interesting to introduce new characters that are direct counters to existing gods. Take Zombie Nakamura, for example, who is meant to be strong counter to the quick submission guys like Eddie and Dusty Rhodes, who is a hard counter for Brock next big thing. Main problem with balance is if you make someone less good and people spend a lot of money and resources on, that could be a PR nightmare. That would be my guess. All right, so that is it. That took a hell of a lot longer than I thought it would. We're over an hour of video doing that. I probably should have scrolled first before I did that. I don't know if you guys are actually going to sit through the whole thing, but if you did, well, here's your answer. They actually answered a lot more than I thought they would. They actually spent a lot more time than they were supposed to. Also, I think they spent like twice the amount of time they were supposed to. Pretty cool. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you're not already a sub on my channel, make sure to do so to be kept aware when I post new stuff. If you have any comments, leave them. And if you like the video, like and share. See you guys. G out.